But tell
Well,
me, had he found you a wife yet? You had mentioned that he found you a wife.
Yeah, well, he said, you know, it's very important to marry a woman that you're going to like, and, you know, love is kind of, it's fine, but there's other qualities you have to have. And he says it's all, you know the word propinquity? It's
Yes.
like, it's just, it's accidental. You happen to meet a nice girl and you take her out. So let's remove the accident part. So I'll just focus you in on a couple, you know, that I think are really good. And my wife's family, the Harders, were sort of known. They were friends of my parents. And I guess the summer of '50, they had a square dance party at their home, and my father danced with my wife, Ardith, who was a great square dancer. And he said, afterwards he said, "There she is, you know, that's the one for you to go right there." And I wasn't like about to get married, but my sister knew Artie too, and on New Year's Day, you know, these girls, they said, well, they didn't have dates, and so they just invited their brothers and whatever, and but that was it. And then I started dating my wife, and we were engaged I asked her to marry me like 6 weeks later, and we were married then in June. So
How old were you?
I was 21 when I got married, and of course we're still married. That's 38 years ago.
Well, I think children today would probably resent their fathers being that actively involved in their romantic life. How did you remember any resentment on your part at the time?
No, well, of course it was a different age,
Yes.
and it really speaks to the relationship I had with my father. First of all, he had a terrific sense of humor, and so it was like fun, you know, to think about this. And but the relationship I had with him was when he made a suggestion, I gave it very serious consideration.
A lot of respect on both sides, it sounds
I
like.
think, well, yeah, and he gave me tremendous freedom. I would crack up his car, you know, or whatever. I remember I shot a hole through the door of his car twice, 2 different cars with a shotgun. He never complained, you know. He would drive.
He was a remarkable man. Now, Mrs. Rodale is still very much involved in what you're doing here, isn't she? Someone mentioned that...
My mother.
No, your wife.
Oh, yeah, she's very active, and she's written a book, and she's in charge of all the buildings and grounds. And
I was admiring the artwork as we came in on the walls, and someone said that that was her responsibility. Do you and she have hobbies in common, or what do you do for vacations, or do you take them?
We don't take vacations, but I did a lot of competitive shooting over the years.
You mentioned shooting your father's car.
Yeah, skeet shooting. And
but you don't shoot animals?
No, I don't shoot animals. Never really did that much. But there was a period when I was away just about every weekend at matches, and that forced, my wife would go along sometimes, and then one time I would like shoot in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'd take her and the kids and we'd go to some amusement park or museums or whatever. But we were at a big match one time, and she asked me to go with her, and the match went on in the afternoon as well as the morning. And I said, well, you're going to have to go on your own. Take the kids. And she said, well, I can't do that. You know, you've got to have a man along. And I said, no, you're going to have to go. You do it. And I she was like upset. But she talks often that was like best thing I did for her was force her to be a little more independent.
Push a little bit. You have, what, 4 or 5 children?
We had 5. We now have 4. Our oldest son died of AIDS about 3 years ago.
And you must have grandchildren also?
7 grandchildren. Yeah.
Do they all live around here?
They all live around here. We all live on the original organic gardening farm. My mother lives in the old house.
Well, that's the reason when I said Mrs. Rodale, you weren't sure which one I was referring to.
Yeah, nobody calls my wife Mrs. Rodale.
Oh, all right.
They call her Artie. But so we live about 100 yards from my mother, and then my oldest daughter and her husband and 4 kids live 100 yards the other way, and my second daughter lives at the other end of the farm, has 2 sons. My youngest daughter lives in Emmaus.
Mm-hmm.
My son Anthony is the youngest. Well, he's engaged now, and he has an apartment in Allentown. But
How gratifying to have them all close by.
and they all work. We all work in the company. Every single one. My oldest daughter doesn't work, but her husband is the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the really. I'm the luckiest person in the world. I got a nice family. They're all around here, and we live together and we work together, and we manage to get along.
Well, you have quite a heritage in that respect from your father again.